If you've clicked on this video, you've definitely already seen my title, and yes, it is true, I have already stopped playing with For Rent. Let's talk about it. For Rent got released on the 7th of December, which means that it's been just over a month since it got released, and I actually didn't make this decision recently. I made it in 2023 that For Rent gameplay was not coming into 2024. Now, I'm talking about a specific save file, which was my For Rent save file. I've been so excited for a rental pack for the last 5-6 years that I made an entire new Let's Play with different characters in the new world, with the entire theme of being a landlord, also being a tenant, and I have already stopped playing that save file. And it's not because I got bored, it's because of the glitches. To me, this pack has released with some of the biggest glitches that I've ever seen, and it's really made me sad. It kind of lost my spark for The Sims for a little bit, which I'm still trying to regrow. If I'm honest, I thought that I'd still be playing with it at this point, and now I just don't know what I want to do, and I'm frustrated. So I wanted to come on here and talk about it, go through some of the glitches that I've experienced, see if you have any in the comments down below, you can let me know, and just say my thoughts, because I did get early access to this pack. It was my first ever early access, and I am so grateful to the team for giving me that. It was such a massive opportunity, and I really did enjoy it. Getting to find out about the pack early, getting to find out all of the CAS items and the build items and make videos on it. I had so much fun doing that, but it wouldn't be right for me to make all of those videos saying how beautiful the world is, how great the CAS is, how lovely the build buy is, and then not talk about my thoughts of the gameplay. I didn't play with the pack a lot in my early access period because honestly, I love playing with my chat on Twitch, and I kind of wanted to just explore it with them. So I ended up leaving a lot of the gameplay until the embargo lifted and I was able to play it on Twitch, and then I joined my community and we had a look through everything, and that is the save file that I have had problems with. Now, I'm not going to say that it is just one save file. I think that is some part of the issue, but the save file that I played since the embargo lifted, and then I brought it into my main game with all the other packs and I continued playing. So I have many hours in this save file. I want to say 20, 25, 30, it might be more than that, but right around, I want to say hour 8 was when we started to have issues, and they just kept going and going. Now, I love The Sims. I have since I was 5 years old. I've played all of the iterations. I've played Sims 4 for years and years and years. I've been a content creator for Sims 4 for years and years. I have 9,000 plus hours in this game. I love this game. This is the first pack that I've ever stopped a Let's Play because of the glitches. For context, I'm still regularly playing with Horse Ranch. I still play with Growing Together. I mean, Growing Together was a pack that you could play all of the time whenever you have a kid, but I'm still actively playing with Growing Together. I'm massively playing with Horse Ranch. I absolutely love Horse Ranch. I love making ranches. I love having horses. I've got a bunch of goats in my 100 baby save file at the moment, so Horse Ranch is a massive part of everything that I'm doing. I'm using Home Chef Hustle items all of the time, so I just feel like every single other pack is getting a lot of use from me still, whereas For Rent has had to be put on a back burner because of all the glitches. So I would just want to preface this and say that it is not me hating the game. I love the game. I play so much of it. It is this specific pack, the frustrations that have come with this and the gameplay of it that I'm disappointed with, that I'm going to be covering in this video, all the things that I've been going through. This right here is my 100 baby save. I've been playing the Lockwoods down here for quite a while now, and this save has become semi-corrupted. I don't want to say it's fully corrupted because I can still play, all of the gameplay works, all of the build, all of the CAS, but what doesn't work is Newcrest. I cannot get in this world, which means any builds that I have underneath this world are stuck behind this white screen. And that, to someone that builds and gameplays, is really sad. And this white screen is perpetual. I've never managed to get through it. It also doesn't allow me to click this to go to a different world that does work. The only way for me to get rid of this is to go back to the main menu. This is my building save. This brings me on to a beautiful point. This wasn't the point that I was going to make, but welcome to a perpetual loading screen. I tried to get into this building save and I've been sitting here for about 2 minutes with this loading screen, which is way longer than any of my loading screens are. To preface, I do not have any mods or custom content in. It would not be fair for me to play the game and make a video like this if I had mods and custom content in the game. I have none of them. But this will not let me load into my building save. My building save is one of my favorite saves that I have. It has all of my builds. It has all of my unfinished builds on. And for me to not be able to get into this this build is right now making me terrified. But yeah, I'm gonna have to restart the game. There is no way for me to get into the main menu. There is no way for me to get back to try and reload it. I'm going to have to restart the game in order to play. This wasn't even the point I was trying to make. I restarted my game and we have now made it into the build save, which is a huge relief to me, but I'm still worried. Because if I click on the world Tomarang, I get another white screen. Now, the saddest part about this is there is a 5-unit lot that I was working on back in December that I have not been able to access for about 3 weeks now. And that lot I loved. I was building it on Twitch. I was having so much fun. It had storylines for all of the different units and everything was going so well. I didn't back up the 3rd iteration onto the library, so I no longer have it and I cannot access that build, which I'm really sad about because I was loving building it. You know that feeling you get when you're like, what's the point? What am I gonna do? What build should I make now? I was on such a roll. What do I do next? And so I have not been back to build in a Tomarang style for units since I have lost this build because I'm so sad about it. Building 5 units takes such a long time and I was so close to the end and now it's gone. And I don't know when this is gonna get fixed. I don't know if I'll ever get access to Tomarang in this save file again to get that build back. So those are the first issues. You managed to see all of them, the white screens and the perpetual loading, none of which are fun. Let's go on to gameplay. I know I'm not the only one to experience issues with save files and build mode. There is one going around that I've heard about, which I've not personally had just because I haven't explored this part, but using the new cheat to unlock how many units you can have in each lot seems to be corrupting some people's saves. So please be super careful because we would not like that to happen to you, but using that cheat to get over 6 lots seems to be a problem right now. So the guidance from other simmers who have experienced this is to just try not to use the cheat, just go for the normal amount of 6 lots if it doesn't get behind a white screen and try and play that way. But that's a really upsetting thing. I know that it's a cheat, so it's not really put in the game and it's not fully fledged, but I feel like a cheat, if it's available to you, should not be corrupting your save files. Also, can't get into this save. I don't know what is going on today. This seems worse than usual. Right when I'm filming this video, which is not fun, but I'm gonna have to restart again. Okay, I'm back from restarting. I finally made it into Tomarang. This is my Let's Play save file. This is the one that I have become frustrated with and am no longer playing. Even though I really want to, there is no gameplay for me. So let's look into it. I live in a little rental. This is one of the starter rentals. This is my sim. He's called Maurice Monopoly. He is also a landlord. So he owns this lot down here, which has 2 rental properties on it. And he also owns this one, which has another 2 rental properties. In the tab down here, you can see how many rental properties he has, all of these 4 that I just showed you, and he also has a unit tax of 200 simoleons. This is taken every single day out of the daily rental income that you have, which his is pretty good. It's not massive, but he also has very small rentals, even though they're pretty high starred. Now, one of my issues is with this rental tax. It is not proportional at all to the unit that you've got. So you could have a mansion and you could have a 1 bed, 1 bath, little tiny thing, and both of them would cost $50 in unit tax, which doesn't feel right because a mansion takes so much more heat than a tiny little thing does. I don't quite understand the unit tax, but they haven't made it proportional at all to lot size, lot value, amenities, nothing. Now, this becomes a problem when you go back to their marketing of this pack, which heavily implied that this would be a great pack to make dormitories for Discover University. Now, that's where the issue is, because each unit has a lot tax of 50 simoleons. I cannot believe what is happening. I was trying to show a problem with having a small unit like this probably not get you more than 20 or 15 simoleons in rental income when your lot taxes each day are 50, meaning you can never make a profit. But right now I'm having bigger issues where I can't even create a new unit because every time I do, it just assigns itself to this first one and adds itself on. Now I can't even make a 3rd rental on this property. So that's great. I moved the room to another lot. I also put it down a few times. So we've now got 4 tiny units on this one lot and it's finally worked. I think that maybe because the other lot had in situ tenants in, it might have been causing some issues. The pack's really hard to use, especially around making new units and then expanding units and everything. It's really difficult and it's hard to work out what works and what doesn't to the way that you want it. I'm going to try and purchase this one and see how much each of these rentals will give me. To go over this, we have a sofa, a tiny little tea table. They've got a dresser, a bed and a bedside table. I also put a a fridge in there just in case that would help. Let's see how much these go for. I've also just added a toilet stool so that they can each go to the bathroom. In England and probably Europe and maybe even America, this is kind of what a dormitory situation would look like. You'd have a little bedroom, which honestly wouldn't even have this much furniture in. Bedrooms might have a bed, a desk, and a wardrobe. There often is not much else. So having even a sofa is kind of a luxury and definitely not a fridge. And then you would go out of your room and you'd go to a little communal toilet block, which everyone on the floor would share. And they'd also probably have a shared kitchen area as well. Now, these units have a maximum rent of 40 simoleons. How am I supposed to make any money in a dormitory situation if I can't rent out a room for over the price of the lot tax? It absolutely takes no account of what shared amenities there are. I feel like I could have an entire shared mansion that is beautifully kitted out and I would still only get 40 simoleons for this room despite them being able to use the entire of the mansion. And that just means that it's completely not profitable in a dormitory situation, which is what they heavily implied in their marketing of the pack, that you could make your own little university situation with loads of little roommates and they could all share kitchens. It doesn't work like that. And whilst that was an extreme example, if you split the Pancakes house into 2 different rentals for each room, they both have the run of the entire house that has all of the massive amenities that does. This bedroom, which you can't actually see, only gets you 98 simoleons maximum. And that doesn't even mean that someone's going to be paying that amount. If you actually go through, they're going to be paying 73 simoleons or 78 at a maximum. That doesn't even get you the full amount, which means that you're making what, 23 simoleons per day? That's nothing compared to what it would be in the real life to have an entire mansion in a shared space and then you're sharing with one other room. It just doesn't make sense and it's just not profitable, and that's really difficult. So all you can do is make full homes that have every single amenity. They have all of the bathrooms and the bedrooms and the skill building items and the nice furniture before you actually start making a good profit that you can live off of and be like a landlord in the real world. That kind of brings me on to a second point, which I don't know how they would have implemented, but there's no way to have an unfurnished house. Like you might rent, especially in my country, into an unfurnished place. It's kind of less common to find a furnished place. That's more of a luxury that you end up paying for. You can't rent an unfurnished location and then have the Sims that are renting kitted out with their own stuff. I know that would have been hard to make, but it does kind of reduce the realism a little bit. That's not a big gripe of mine, but it is something I thought I would put in here. Also, further to that, on the rental pricing, I actually never receive full rent. There was a period of time where I didn't receive any rent, but now every Wednesday at around 5 a.m, my Sim does actually collect rent, but it's never the full amount, and there's never any reason why they haven't paid the full amount, and there's also no gameplay to get the full amount. To have a face-off with your tenant and go, you know what, why have you not paid me? I've done everything for you. I've done the maintenance. You've had no issues this week. Why have I not got it? And there's nothing surrounding that, but it is never the full amount. So even what you're expecting to get, even if it's a tiny amount, you still don't get all of it. I think in this video, it's time for me to say something positive because there are some good parts about this pack. I love the CAS. I think it's so on brand. I love the build buy. They gave us amazing swatches. They gave us so many things. They gave us beautiful new windows. They gave us some doors. It looks so good. And those are really, really positive aspects. I also really like the world. The world is beautiful. Would I have wanted a few more lots? Yes, I probably would have. Is it too close to Sulani? In my personal opinion, no. I've been hearing about this a lot, but I actually think they're very different. And I really, really like Pomerang. The night market is beautiful as well. It's a really nice thing to do. There isn't enough to do in the world, in my opinion. And I think just in the general piece of the pack, there aren't enough skills and things that you can do on a day-to-day basis, like maybe Eco Lifestyle had, or horse riding with horses. But there are some really, really positive parts about the pack. It's just not the gameplay. But in the gameplay is not all bad. The tenant feature has been working really well for me. I've had tenant issues. I've had my power go out. I've had bad sewage. I've had rubbish. I've had things to do that, whilst not always realistic, are things that you can do. You can get your landlord in to fix them, which means that you can actively converse with your landlord, or you can fix them yourself and get compensated with a tiny bit of money for going to that effort. And that has been working really, really well. And I just want to put that in there. It's not all bad, but on the flip side, the landlord landlord issues that arise when you have a tenant, in the same way that being a tenant has issues that you can call your landlord for, being a landlord should have issues that your tenants call you for. And that does sometimes happen, but there's also no cohesion with it. I recently, last few days, put a little ranch that I'd made on the market as a rental property for my 100 baby challenge, and it went from a 4-star to a 5-star rental because I did a bunch of maintenance on it and I was really upkeeping with everything that they needed, and I maintained things, and they were like, hey, this is now a 5-star rental. It managed to double the amount of maximum rent I could get to like 950 simoleons, which is amazing. But less than 24 hours after the rental had increased from a 4-star to a 5-star, my tenants revolted. I got a notification that my tenants were having a revolt. It's now a 5-star rental. They're paying half of what I could achieve for this rental and they're revolting. And that just makes no sense to me. So there's not much cohesion with how those things work and when tenants are upset and when they're not. But for me, playing as a landlord, going over to the house to fix things, to fix the curse book or go do the maintenance, or the water system is broken down and I need to fix it, I love that. That is what the gameplay is for me, being a landlord and having those things. Some people might just play as a tenant, some people might not play at all. Fair enough. But half of the pack is being a landlord. I would argue more than half of the pack of the gameplay section is being a landlord. I will get to my biggest gripe, which started all of this off, in a second. But first, I want to touch on one of the things that have been annoying for me, and that is the consequences when you justly evict a tenant in their grace period. This makes no sense to me. When you've said, hey, your lease is 7 days long, you stay for 7 days, and then after that, we decide if we want to renew your contract. And in the grace period, we have the right to evict you, which just feels right. If I want to stay in a place for a year, I stay in a place for a year, and then the landlord knows that they're getting it back in a year, and we both part happily. But that doesn't happen in The Sims. If you justly evict a tenant in their grace period, they can hate you. They have a huge red bar in their friendship zone of hating you because you've justly evicted them when you were fully in your right to do so because they'd finished their contract. And then on top of that, you sometimes get served with papers that you have to pay, and that's like 300 or 600 simoleons, which if you're just a surviving landlord because you've only got 23 simoleons worth of profit each day, all of your profits go. But I don't understand why, one, they hate you, and two, you get fined for the privilege of justly evicting someone. And that I definitely feel like has to change. And finally, I know I've been touching on this, but there was one big issue I found in my Let's Play save, and it might happen again to me in other saves that I do have like the odd rental for, because I do still want to play it a bit. I'm just not going to be playing it full time with my entire gameplay aspect being a landlord. That's just not feasible for me with this main issue. And that is that after about 10 to 14 sim days, I stopped having any rental issues at all. Nothing. No revolts, no fines, no come over and fix this, no I've got a curse, no I've broken a rule. Nothing. There was no gameplay. And I'm not sitting here as someone that's played for 1 extra hour and had nothing happen. I have played for 10 to 12 hours in this same save file with not a shred of anything happening as a landlord for my tenants. I've not had to go over there to fix anything. I even put in water heaters and the power things that are supposed to break so that I could go fix them, and nothing has happened. And I think we've been playing for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 sim weeks with not a thing happening, and that is all of the gameplay of being a landlord vanished. And that is why I'm no longer playing with the full rent pack in the save file, and I probably will never be doing a full-on landlord tenant for rent save file again, because there is no gameplay after 10 to 14 sim days. I don't know if you've also experienced this. Please do let me know if you have in the comments down below. I would really love to not feel so alone with this, but losing every single aspect of being a landlord and the gameplay that comes with it means that there's nothing to do. The only thing that I can actually do is periodically go over to check on them and do a little bit of maintenance and upkeep, or to maybe kick them out. But if I kick them out, then they're going to issue me with fines and hate me, so I don't even do that. So there's basically nothing for me to do anymore, and that is why I've stopped playing, and why I stopped playing back in 2023 and decided not to bring it into 2024. Now, some of these issues, I admit, from a game development point of view, are probably not easy to fix. but some of them I feel like definitely should be and should be fixed quite urgently. And I think that their release schedule has not allowed them to do that, because this came out on the 7th of December, right after Thanksgiving, which is a national holiday in the United States, and then right before Christmas and New Year, which means that they had loads of time off straight after the pack got released, where they weren't able to do bug fixes like they usually would. I believe there was one update that came out, but it hasn't fixed the white screen. It hasn't fixed that there's nothing for my landlords to do anymore, and it hasn't fixed a whole load of other things that people are finding, like with the save corruptions for the cheat. And in my personal opinion, we did not need a third expansion pack in the last quarter of 2023. We had Growing Together and Horse Ranch, two of the most highly anticipated packs that they've ever come out with. We didn't need a third one in the last month that they weren't able to give the time to post-release to find the bugs and to fix them in real time and then offer us updates that would fix these things. They could have waited. I would have happily covered this in January or February. We did not need a third expansion pack. If I'm right, I don't think they've ever had a year that's had 3 expansion packs, especially not a calendar year. Maybe they had a time frame of 365 days, but this is a very, very fast release schedule, and I don't know why they rushed it through without giving it the proper time. Now, I'm not even saying that they released an unfinished pack, though with everything that I've talked about in this video, I'm sure you could think that. I just feel like it hasn't had the attention afterwards because of all the holidays, and that is nobody's fault but the people that set the timing, because if they'd had a couple more months, and I don't know why they did this, why they didn't leave it, if they'd had a couple of months, they would have had a potentially less buggy release, and then they also would have been given the time to fix things as they occurred when they didn't have annual time off, which I fully believe they should have annual time off. America's laws do not give people enough time off as it is, so I'm not blaming anyone for being off in the slightest. Like, please go have time with your family. You absolutely deserve it. Just don't release something, a huge game-changing update that has so much code and conflicting things 2 weeks before you then have loads of time off. Now, I know that that's hindsight. I have absolutely nothing to do with the release schedule. I can just question it, and I have no idea why they chose these things, and there's nothing we can do about it. But all I can report on is what I'm finding and my frustrations, and none of this would matter if I was still enjoying it. But I feel like the spark has just dwindled because I've been frustrated and because I've got nothing to do in that save file, that I'm looking for other things to do, and I've lost a little bit of that creativity. I'll get it back. There'll be new releases. They just announced that a new stuff pack is releasing in the next few months. There will be other things for me to do. I'm just sad that this hasn't been given the post-release love that something like Growing Together, which was really buggy, did have. And they were so communicative around that. They said, we've seen that the loose tooth thing is bad. We've seen that these Sims are getting corrupted. We're working to fix it. They were on socials, tweeting, saying what to do, saying that they hear us, saying that they're going to fix it. They did fix it all. And now it's a fairly issue-free pack. And I just really hope that that's going to happen with For Rent. And until then, if you want to play this pack solely for gameplay and you're really excited for the gameplay of it, I don't think it's the pack to buy right now. I think wait a bit. Don't have the frustration that I have, which makes you not want to play the game because every time you play, you come into glitches. And that's all I can say about it. I hope I won't be having to make another video about this a month after a pack release again. And I really hope that they do fix some of these issues that have come up in the next few weeks now that they are back in the office and working again after their very deserved break. But I also want to know what you're finding. Are you loving the pack? Are you finding it glitch free? Have you had issues? Are you enjoying it? Are you holding off buying it maybe? If you want it for the world and for the Kaz and the build buy, absolutely go for it. The representation is amazing and I really love that portion of it, and I do love all those aspects. But those are my thoughts on gameplay, and thank you so much for listening. I really want to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in my next much more positive video. Also, because I am a YouTuber, don't forget to subscribe to this if you have enjoyed this and you do want to hear more about my thoughts on The Sims or just builds and gameplay that I want to bring to this channel. Don't forget to subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. You'd make my day.